And anything after this, this is a bonus stuff. So if you don't have all this done, that's fine. But this next one says you're going to open a fifth tab at teacher.desmos.com. Near the end of the day, we're going to go to that tab. So again, you could type that. There you go. But signing in using your CUSD Google account is really handy, and I'll show you why during this session. So when we get to the point and you're wanting to sign in, just use your regular account. That way you'll never have to remember your password. It'll just be right there for you. And if you already have a Desmos account, you can use the one you already have. And then in the chat, there's a link to this document. And this document, I'm going to now roll it. You will want to eventually, oh dear. Okay. You'll want to eventually save to your drive or download to your computer, because there's tons of links for you to be able to explore later. And so you'll want this copy. Okay. If you are watching and you can't find this in the chat, then right here at this bit.ly that you can type in is where you can get these notes. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me just tell you what's going to happen today. Our plan is that you're going to experience the Desmos activity from a student's point of view. You're going to learn how to use the teacher dashboard to facilitate conversation and monitor student learning. And you're going to explore a list of awesome activities to use with your students. And during all this time, I'm going to have the lens of where we're at right now in the world, that we don't have our kids sitting in classroom in front of us. And so maybe the way we would have done things normally is going to be a little different than what we would do right now. And so the first thing I'm going to have you do is just do a little check-in so I can see where everybody knows. So your very first move is to go to a tab that says student.desmos.com. And you're going to type in this code. I'm going to make that code really big. So I'm going to go to this. And I already have this dashboard set up. This is my teacher account. And so this is the code you're going to type in at student.desmos.com. This is very short. There's only 3 slides, one of which is a cute picture. If you're a secondary teacher in Clovis, I've sent you something like this before the other day and you gave stuff back to me. All these kind of how are you doing slides are made by Desmos and are things you could add to the front of any activity while we're apart from our students, just to kind of keep that communication going. If you're interested in that, Scott's going to share more about that tomorrow. So most of you are at that last slide, so I'm going to just show you a few things. I'm on my teacher dashboard page, and when I'm at the summary page, I can see who's signed in, and I can see what slide you're on right now. If there was a right answer to these, which what's your stress level? There's not really a right answer to that, but if there was, then it would show me a check mark if you'd gotten that right, and an X, a red X if you'd gotten that incorrect, and I would know to reach out to you then about that. These are just responses that don't have a right answer, so they're just telling me where you're at. For instance, I can see that Scott is probably on this second slide, but he is not answered yet because I don't see a dot there. Right. I can see a total of 7 of my students are here and 1 is here. So I can see and kind of know how much more time I need to give my class. I love that about this. If I'm doing it with students, sometimes I anonymize, which is right here, and it'll give you the name of a famous mathematician or scientist randomly. And so that way, if I don't want to give away who's here, I have that ability. And then if I want to talk about stuff, I can hit this teacher tab right here. Well, first of all, if I realize nobody knows how to move this point, I can pause everybody, which looks like that on your screen. Now you can't do anything. And I can go to my student tab right here, and I can say, hey, I see a lot of people can't figure out what to do on this graph. Just grab this red point and move it to whatever grade you teach and however used to Desmos you are. And so I can show that, and then I can unpause you and give you a little time to do that. I also can, if I want, when I'm at this teacher's page, I can see individual responses and I can see kind of where they all are. Or I can look at an overlay and I can see, oh, we have a big group of dots right about here, which is because makes sense because this is for 7 through 12. We wouldn't expect too many dots down here. So that makes sense where it is. Nobody's a major expert, but it looks like all of you have at least heard of Desmos, have a little bit of experience there. Okay, so that allows me to do. Also, when I did responses, I was able to, I just did it for the first 3, I was able to take somebody and write them a note. So I typed, oops, did I send it to you, Krista? Did I send this? Yes. So I typed Krista a note. And I by clicking this button right here, then I was, oops, by clicking that button right here, I was able to type her a note. I could say, good job, and send that to her. And she would be able to see it. On your student page, then you should be able to see that there's like a check mark or something right there that tells you, that you have a message coming in. It will not, when your kids are gone away from the screen, if they didn't sign in with their Google that has an email attached, it will not let them know. But if they had an email attached, it does say that they could come back to the, if they signed in with an email that was attached, they can come back to this activity and see your comments. So if we were, anyway, we'll talk more about that later. All right. So I can see everybody has some level of experience. Let's check out your stress levels. There it is. And in this one, I can see that nobody had their stress level going up and up. Lots of us are kind of living in a wave. Some people are starting to feel better about things. It's going down a little bit. And so, and I can read all these comments. All right, so we're gonna leave this right now. Go back. That was our first check-in. Before we start on any of the math, I just want to show you some of the why here. We don't add tech to our classrooms just because we like bells and whistles and it's just fun to buy new things. We add tech because we're all about teaching kids math. And so we want, when we add something, to be purposeful in adding it. In this, right now, at this time, there are things that we accomplish normally by walking right next to a student and having a conversation or leading a classroom discussion. And that's really hard to do by sending a worksheet home in Google Classroom and getting it uploaded in a photo. We're missing that interaction, that time to be able to really see students thinking. And so in this case, I think it functionally improves the task by using technology. And there's things that cannot even be done. So we're gonna be able to replace, sometimes we just are substituting what we did in class with this new technology, like our Google Classroom sending stuff home and taking pictures is replacing passing forward papers, right? But sometimes it makes something specifically different than we could do before. The task was not able to be conceived before. And so as you decide whether or not to use a Desmos activity, you should always keep it in mind, what purpose is it accomplishing? And is it better than what I was doing already? Okay. All right, let me close that. So we're going to start, there's a couple pieces here. We're going to start with something about synchronous learning. If you decide to have all your kids log in at the same time into a Zoom chat, what you could do with Desmos. And then we'll talk about non-synchronous, which I think is how more of your activity with your students right now is happening, right? So if you decide to have all your students log in at one time, what are you doing with that time? If you're giving a lecture, that's probably done just as well by a video, and you don't have to get everybody all at the same time. Taking notes via Zoom doesn't seem to be an overwhelmingly good use of that technology, right? But what we'd like in there together is to be able to hear their thinking, let them talk to each other, and really be able to engage. And remember, we're competing now with whatever video game that they're playing there at home on that computer. We want to make those times when we draw them together be something that they find worthwhile. And so polygraphs is one of the things that I think is really good for that. They're missing interaction with their classmates. And this gives you a chance to have that interaction, but control it, not just that chaos when they all log in and start saying hi, right? So we're going to right now play a polygraph. Before I have you start that, let me just show you what it looks like. I picked polygraph parabolas. There's polygraphs for lines, for trig functions, for logarithms, for everything. But here's polygraph parabola. And when you go to any polygraph, you will see this description about how polygraphs work. So we've designed polygraph to foster the pleasure and the power of words without the drudgery of lists. Tools to develop informal language into formal vocabulary. Because words result from a need to describe our world. This is where they gain their power. And if you are not here with us right now and you're going to try to, so this explains, sorry, I'm going to skip ahead. So this explains how it works. It's going to basically work like a game of Guess Who. You are going to be paired with somebody else in the room. And if Bissy and I are paired, I'm going to pick a polygraph. I'm going to pick a shape, one of these parabolas, and she's going to try to guess by asking yes/no questions. So she'll get to ask yes/no questions. Does the parabola open up? No. Is it symmetric about the y-axis? No. And I can eliminate based upon her answers, and then you try to guess that. It's really excellent for bringing up vocabulary, you'll see as we go. If you're watching this later and it's hard to find somebody to play with, here's some instructions on how you can get to make that work for you. And so we're going to go, then there's a lot of hints about how you can run the discussion afterwards all here. So I just want to tell you that that's there, because in any polygraph that's there, a lot of times you have to click a link that says show more. Okay. So right now we're going to go to your second student.desmos.com tab, and you're going to enter this activity code. By the way, when you are making these activities, you can copy this lower code right here and put it into your Google Classroom, and it'll take your kids right to the activity filling the code in already. So that little link right there is perfect for your Google Classroom. Okay. And I am going to hide who you're playing with. I just anonymized you.
Leanne, what's the code again? I can't see it anymore for some reason.
I'm going to pop it up right here in the top. There's always one you can pop it up again.
Okay.
MFG4QF. You good? While the people here are playing, just for those of you who are not here, I want you to notice on my teacher dashboard, I can see the games in progress. When I open one, the answer will be given away. So it's not really great to open it in front of the class and show everybody on your screen. You might want to open it on your computer, but not project that. As students finish a game, they'll be given questions that they'll work through, and I'll be able to tell when they finish a game and guess correctly, I'll get a green mark here, and when they're incorrect, I'll get a red mark. Because I have an odd number of students right now, one person is waiting for a partner. As soon as this person who's practicing finishes, they'll get paired. Again, I'm narrating for the people who aren't playing right now. I can see now this one group has finished theirs. They're starting to work through the questions. You can see that they're up there at the questions level. So I'm able to monitor the whole time as the class goes. One thing that happens when you're in a class, when you pause this activity in your classroom, you'll hear an audible moan from the students. They get very frustrated when you pause them in the middle and they haven't been able to finish. It's actually one of my favorite moments running a Desmos activity. They're begging to play math. Okay, I'm going to pause you in just a moment. 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, excellent. So hopefully you have a feeling for how this works. I'm going to just open one right now. I'll open this one, which took a fair amount of questions. It was a tricky parabola, apparently. And I can see, is your parabola's vertex on the y-axis? If I wanted to go over this with a class, I can ask them, when they heard no, which ones do you think you could have eliminated? And so we can look for that. Once you click this, it'll show the ones that actually were eliminated by the person who was asking the questions. Is the parabola's vertex in the third quadrant? When you click yes, you'll see what they eliminated. So eventually they managed to get down to the right answer. So one of the things that I really like about this is the chance to talk about vocabulary. Because we're a group of math teachers, you guys are using a lot of really high-end vocabulary, but I tend to see things like, does it look like a smile? Does it look like a frown? Is it hitting the line? Things like that, where they're really wishing for words. And so I usually just on my whiteboard, I write this up. I'll pause them. They've played one round, and I will write this up, but I prepared it. So if you're doing online, let me present it. I would have words that I saw coming up. It's like a smile, it's like a cup, it's like a hill. It has a corner or a turning point, things like that. And I would want to give them the correct vocabulary. Nobody just knows correct vocabulary. We have to tell it. In the past, oftentimes that's been done with a lecture and a lot of notes and writing stuff down. But now we're bringing up vocabulary exactly when they need it. And so I will tell them, okay, so now that you know the correct mathematical words, these words are no longer allowed. It's like taboo. You can't say those words. When you want to say it's smiling, you're going to say concave up. And let me just show you. I actually prepared something a lot longer so that no matter what, if I saw nobody being able to name quadrants, I might have wanted to have more specific stuff about quadrants. So I could copy this slide and just delete the lines that my class didn't need. Right? So that's just a teacher move as you run this. And then between each round, if you didn't get to a between a round, they get a set of couple questions. Ask a question to help you figure out the difference between these two parabolas. And so you'll see a series of questions that's going to help them improve their questioning, because what we want is for them to really think about a question that's not too specific, so that only eliminates one, and it's not too broad, so that it's hard to tell what you should eliminate. And so these questions are supposed to help them be able to hone their question skills, to be able to, the word roots comes up here if you wanted to use that. So anyway, we're gonna leave that activity now and go back. I just want to let you know that there are tons of polygraph activities. So make sure you can see my agenda now if you can't see it. I went to teacher.desmos.com, which is where you go, and I searched polygraph, and I found all of these polygraphs. So that link will be there. You can also go later and search. I found a fraction one. I found a systems one, some exponentials. This exponential is more appropriate to Math 3 than to Math 1. Just so you know, it's a little bit more about shifting exponential graphs. Some things focused on vertex form. A scatter plots one I really like. Some nice fraction ones. If you have grade school kids at home, you could be playing these with your child. So lots and lots of choices of polygraphs. There's always something to help you introduce. This one I really like for 7th grade right now with the angle relationships that are going on in 8th grade. Some really good stuff. There's one, seems like there's one about derivatives. I know I have a couple calculus teachers here. I will have to find that later. But there's lots and lots of polygraphs already made. Most of our teaching, though, is going to be non-synchronous right now. We're going to put something into our Google Classroom. Students are not going to all go to something at the exact same time. And so the activity builders that are pre-made by Desmos or by people that are really familiar with Desmos are really nice activities that let you get a better glimpse into what your students are thinking and understanding than what you're getting by them just returning pictures of the worksheets they've done. Because you're not getting to hear their voice, and this gives you a chance to really hear that. So we're going to now go to your third Student Desmos tab and try Match My Line. There are a lot of versions of Match My Line. This particular version, I'm going to open up my code. So here's the student code you need, DAVM5U. And this particular version is really, really long. This is the original version of Match My Line, and it's very long. It starts with some point slope. It goes to some slope. It starts with some slope intercept. It goes to some point slope, to some variety of things. There are some edited versions. As a matter of fact, I've linked an edited version. I'll show you later. And Scott is going to tomorrow show you how to edit it and pick just the slides you would like. Okay, so when you get there, go ahead and get started. I see some of you are already zooming along. And for the benefit of people who are watching, this is what the slide began to look like. And we're going to see somebody working and change that slide probably in a minute. Actually, I might need to find somebody else. Let's see. Oh, I'm wrong. Hold on. Oh, darn, you all changed it already before I got there. You can, we can watch them actually change. One of the things that was hard about this was it used to say 2x, and if your kids can't write fractions and they're not in your classroom, there's this little note you can pop up that tells them how to type in the math, which is really helpful when they're not all in your class. Okay, keep going. And I'm about to pause you in just a minute. Actually, I need to. Okay, 1, 2, 3, pause. Sorry if I interrupted you right in the middle of all of that. So I just wanted you to see what I'm seeing. So if you can get the Zoom screen back to the front so you can see what I'm seeing as a teacher. This is a really nice, I love the variety that you guys were able to come up with. This is great. So I would think what I see here is a lot of you made all of your lines by changing the slopes. That's what I did. But I see some of you made the lines by changing your y-intercepts. Duh, why didn't I think of that? I might like to show that to my students. So I'm gonna pick and just click this camera shot here of this one and this one because they're the two different choices. And now when I wanna come back to my, to talk to my students about it, I can drag the snapshots that are here and then I can present that and talk about what made these pictures very different. Are they both possible right answers? And what did this person do to change the equations? What did this person do to change the equations? I can even, if I build my own activity builder, which Scott's showing tomorrow, I could make this a slide and ask them to explain what got changed to make this graph, what got changed to make that graph. So I really love that. That again was a snapshot I did. I'm going to show you one more time. I just clicked the camera right there, picked the ones I wanted to talk about, and then I can go to snapshots and I can use them. A lot of times somebody has a really complicated way. I don't want to show that first, so I'll make sure and I'll hide this one. That way I can just show this one and then I can show this one separately. Notice when I presented it, Deanna's name didn't show up, right? So I can anonymously show student and discuss student work. I love that about this. Okay. Also notice on my screen, I paste this. There's a pacing button right here, and I paste it so you could only go up to slide 7. If I remove that and you explore it later, what you'll find is that above here we went to point slope form. I didn't really want to go on to point slope form, so I just paste you to the first 7 slides. So those are all options you have as a teacher. And we're going to go back to our agenda. Every activity, actually, let me go back here. I'm gonna go back this way. Every activity you go to has a teacher's guide, and that teacher's guide has tips to help you be able to plan your lesson and to know where kids might have trouble. In this particular one, I linked the teacher guide right here as well. And there were a couple things I didn't think of. By the way, there's French, Italian, and Spanish translations of this. So I don't know if you have any French or Italian students in your class, but if you had a Spanish student, you wanted to give them the bilingual version, that's there. Has a checklist. Make sure you've done the activity, figure out where you're going to pace, what are some problems your kids are going to have. I usually mark that all up. A picture of all the slides so you can remember what's coming. And then there's some notes here. Right here on the first one, I should be watching and see who's stuck and be able to go to them, maybe sneak them a comment. Also gives me how the answers might look so that I can be ready for all those different answers. Right here on this one, I didn't think of this. Students might have been guessing the slope in decimals, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. And so if I saw that, then I might want to encourage them to try counting the slope, right? I didn't think of that. I automatically thought of counting the slope. So it was nice for me to have thought in advance, like, oh, somebody might not be thinking about slope, and I might want to plan to pause there and make sure all my students got that before I went on. Or watch for that if your kids are doing it at home, and send them that little note, hey, try counting slope, to help them along. Okay, so anyway, there's all the answers, the possible answers are here. So it's very, very handy for you. Printing this out sometimes when I'm gonna run the activity is really nice, because I'm usually walking around the room, but now we'll still be able to use that even though we're apart. Okay, so that's there.
Excuse me, Leanne.
Oh, yes. Jennifer.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when the students get to the last slide if we set the pacing? Does it just stop them there?
Yep.
Or is there a way to allow them to move on?
As far as the student knows, that's all that there is. They think that this activity ended at 7 slides. Whenever you get to the end of activity, sometimes when I'm in a class, students are like, it's not giving me a next button. There's no next button. Yep, that's what the end of the activity looks like, is that there's no next button. If I was editing the activity and making my own, I might drop in an extra slide right there that asks them some kind of, how are you feeling about this? What's something you're still struggling with on graphing lines or something like that. But just for using it as is, I would just put it in with it paced to where you want, and then maybe you could have them respond, in your Google Classroom to that piece. Did I answer that question? Are there any other questions, Jennifer?
That was it.
Okay, thanks. Some teachers are following up by taking those snapshots and then making a little video and then pasting it in their Google Classroom. So right here, how teachers are following up. If you follow that, that's a YouTube. This poor lady, she is very brave. She did this. She went to a session on it on a Sunday. She did it on a Monday and sent it to the kids, and everybody has really liked that she did it so much they've shared it everywhere. So watch it with Grace. This was her very first time, but she just took some interesting student answers. She talked about them on a video, and she pasted it into her classroom after the activity. So they'd done the activity, then she made a follow-up video. All the things you would say to your kids at the end of the activity. I hope you noticed that blah, blah, blah. I saw these 2 really cool answers, blah, blah, blah. All those things made as a video. There's a ton of other Match My whatever. I love the Match My Parabola ones, but again, there's a million of these. I'm going to show you. Match My, and it's going to pick up everything that says match, so we're going to get more, but there's Match My Exponential, again, perfect for Math 3 right now. Match My Parabola, perfect for Math 2 right now. Match My Line. Match My Trig function. There's a derivative card sort match. So now we're getting to things that say the word match, but aren't necessarily. Match My Picture is a nice challenge one. It has really artistic line designs, and the kids have to match that design. That's very fun. So there's lots of fun stuff in there. And the last activity we're going to look at today is called Marble Slides. Marble Slides goes from something that could be a 6th grade activity where you're plotting points. Actually, there's a 5th grade version. All the way through all of high school mathematics. So we're going to start with the one that would be appropriate for middle school, since we've so far been doing high school stuff. So we're going to go to this mini golf marble slides. This is our last activity, our last student.desmos.com. When I go to an activity for the first time and I decide I'm going to use it, I create a class code right here. So when I push this button, that's when this code gets made. And then when I hit View Dashboard, that's when I see this pop up that I can show you. So here's our code for this last activity, DN2-4QN. And in this activity, you're going to be changing the point coordinates So that's what you're going to work in that table and just change the point coordinates. And we're going to pause pretty soon. I like to give you a warning. 3, 2, 1. And that's when usually class is like, oh, man. So get your screen back so that you can see my, my Zoom screen that I'm sharing with you. By the way, if you have logged in to Desmos, to student.desmos.com with your email, then you will be able to go back and see this work, and you can keep playing this marble slide. So if I've ruined your life by stopping it here, you can get back and finish. If I was a teacher, I didn't want the students to be able to go back, then I would need to leave it paused. If I left it paused, they wouldn't be able to go back and do that. So if for some reason I was assessing them on something, I wanted to see what their exit ticket was without them going back and changing it, then I could maybe leave it paused. All right, so I wanted to just show you this slide. I chose hole number 2 to look at, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different entries here. I'm going to show you the overlay. I really like this on this because what it shows me is the original line is here, and we can see all the different things that people are trying. So if you have some students that are stuck, I love this move because I can say, well, let's just look what some people are trying. I don't know that all that works because I paused you right in the middle. You might have been right in the middle of fixing something. So maybe not all of those work, but maybe this would give you an idea if you haven't been able to think of something to do. Now, if I go back to individual responses, I anonymized on purpose, so I wouldn't be calling anybody out, right? And I could show one at a time, and I could ask the class, do you think this one's going to work? Yes or no, right? And we could check it out and see. Oh, so close. How disappointing. So close, Jean. Let's see the next student. Do you think this one's going to work? Yes or no? And so we could try them out. Notice I'm not trying them out and like totally embarrassing the student by leaving their name up. So there you go. And so you could keep going through and show several. If I was doing this in a post video after, I might do the most common one and then maybe, oh, I thought that was going to work. I would have guessed wrong on that one. All right, so and I also didn't know that you could run right through the circles. I was like going all around that. I saw that there was one, let's see if I can find it, where they had more than one line. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, was that I needed to do this double bend thing. Did that work? Yeah, it did. Nice. And it counts as success even though some fall out. If you get to blow up that star, then you've got success. So if I was doing a video, I might highlight a few that are really creative and some of that are most common. Again, just take a picture. Also, you can add a little comment and say, wow, that's an amazing, that was so cool. Nobody else did it this way. And that's kind of fun for the kids to get that message from you. Okay. So marble slides are very cool. There are so many marble slides. It's crazy. When I do this search, a lot of things come up that don't say marble slide. Let's see. That's the one we just played. One for rational functions, for trig, for parabolas, for exponentials. Again, this exponential is better for Math 3 than for Math 1. There's a mini golf marble slide just for quadrant 1 because 5th grade doesn't have negative numbers yet, so they just do quadrant 1. There's some logs that somebody made. They do the transformation and marble slide. So part of it is just an activity on transformation, sliding the graph around, and then there are some slides that have marble slides in them. This is a challenge set, and it's meant if you had somebody who was like really, really into it, you could just give it to them. But it's really meant like you could take this slide and just paste it to be this slide and let students work on this one. This week, you could put one marble slide challenge a week in your Google Classroom by the pacing. You could just set it for one a week. So there are.
I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Yeah, another thing. Well, okay, that's true, but I could do it with pacing, Scott. I wouldn't even need to rewrite this. I could just paste it to slide 1, and the next week paste it to slide 1 and 2. I can do it that way. But yeah, you can steal those and put them in your own activity too. So there's a lot of different ones that happen in here as you keep going. A lot of the ones come up like this shifting parabolas. It just has some marble slides at the end. So tons and tons of stuff there about that. All right, so you've seen a lot of the activities. You've kind of seen what they can do. I hope you can imagine how they might work for you while we are not in the classroom. They're really fun in the classroom. You get a lot of like, lots of excited noise, which is not something that I always heard during my math lessons. So here's how you get started. You will need to, just like you made an account at student.desmos.com, you need an account at teacher.desmos.com. I recommend that you do that with your CUSD Google sign-in. Right here, if you don't have an account, this is where you make your account. I have my account already made there, and I'm signed in. They have special things they're making for distance learning right here. So here's a tab. If I click this, the most popular activities come up. So we did some of the most popular things today, but there's lots of very popular activities that come up. Here, once you have run some, will be a list of all the different ones you've run before and all the codes you've made. And I can go, they go forever. I can go way back to this one that I ran May 7th of 2015. Oops, not that one. Oh yeah, there they are. I can go way, way back and I can see student results. That's really nice right now when we are trying to collect work from people and I hate looking at all the different pictures. It's nice that I can go back and look at stuff. Oops. I should not have closed that. One of the most important things you want to learn from this, get your account, is how to save things, because you'll find them and then you can't find them the next time. And so one of the best things, say I need to find one I have not done recently. First, I'm going to go to collections. And if you are at teacher.desmos.com, I suggest you go to collections. And the collections that, that they have made will be here, but you can make a new collection. So I could make a collection that says Math 7, right? Oops, I could spell without capitals and not yell. And then if I found an activity that I felt was especially good for 7, for instance, this balloon float is amazing. I'm going to put a plus sign, hit that plus sign, and I'm going to choose, I have a lot of a collection, so I got a lot to choose from. I'm going to choose my Math 7s and save it in there. That's a one on proportional reasoning. How many balloons does it take to float a person sitting in a chair? How many balloons does it take to float this? It's very nice proportional reasoning one. So you can add that, and then when I go to collections later, and I think it seems like I found something, I can scroll down here, and again, I have 100, you don't have so many. I can look at my Math 7 collection and see that I have that, so I can find it. So it allows you to it's like a file cabinet right here in Desmos. You don't have to find it in your Google Drive, right? So I have, when I see something that's especially good for Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, I throw them in there, right? So that's something I do. I used to not sort them into a collection, and just so I have 78 bookmarks. That's not as useful a set for me. So I'd advise you to make a collection and save those, and that would be great. All right. They have so many great collections. So if I'm doing if I'm in Math 1, I live in this linear functions one. So many of these are great. And I really wanted the exponential functions one. I'm going to have to go view all so I can see a few more. Exponential functions for Math 1. A lot of the exponential function stuff I find is real Math 3-ish, but Math 1, Avi and Benitez is a perfect Unit 8 exponential function thing. And so anyway, there's all kind. After you finish this, you should go explore and add some in. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back. If you think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to remember all this stuff, good news. They have a feature called learndesmos.com. So we have student.desmos.com, we have teacher.desmos.com, and we have learn.desmos.com. And when you go there, you will find very short videos just on what you need. So we have been working on classroom activities. And so I can watch this. It's approximately a 1.5-minute video. Welcome. If I was trying to remember how the anonymized pacing or pausing went, I could watch that. Very nice, really short videos on each one. And the voice in them is Michael Fenton, who's a Clovis Unified graduate. So it's very nice that we're represented here at Desmos. The snapshot piece that I showed you, there's a little video to watch to how to make those snapshots. So everything you need, including how to make your own activity builder. Scott's going to be talking about that tomorrow. All right. So that's just, I don't remember anything. Also, you can email your friendly neighborhood math TSA. We're happy to help you with any of these things. Some additional resources. This one is the one I really want to pull out. This is a really nice read about what a difference, it's a short lesson read. But this one is the one that we sent you last Friday. Actually, Dr. Parra sent you last Friday in an email. When I made this, it's entitled Math Remote Learning Options, but if you actually click on anything, you'll find that actually all of these were chosen specifically to go with our Math 1. I'm in the process of making one specifically for Math 2. It's going to be all full of quadratics. This one is all full of lines, some systems, a little bit of exponential, a little bit of inequalities, because that's coming up in your Unit 9. Okay. And so I pulled them out specifically. And then there'll be a Math 3 one. So you're going to watch for the email. Every Friday, Dr. Parra is going to send you an email with resources. You're watching for the Math 2 and Math 3 resources that are about to come out. Okay. Are there any other questions hanging out there, Jennifer?
Not at this time, Leanne.
You're awesome. Okay, so post this session, what you can do, you can open the session notes, follow links to any of the activities you're interested, and add them to your own collections. So if you're like, wow, I don't want to forget about that amazing Match My Line activity, right? You can follow that link and add it. I am going to recommend to you, though, if you're in Math 1, sorry, I have to follow a couple links. I should have stayed open. This Match My Line activity right here that I shared to you is edited. It's shorter, and it's only in slope-intercept form. So for 8th grade, I know I have a couple 8th grade teachers here. For 8th grade, this would be really ideal. And Math 1, if you're really wanting to focus on slope-intercept, this is a better, see how it says edited with love? Somebody else edited this one to make it a little bit shorter. If you wanted to make sure you did point-intercept or point slope and some of those others, then the original Match My Line is great. Okay. So you're gonna go through those links and save them, add them. You're gonna look at the collections and find anything you want. You're gonna email Scott or Jennifer or I and ask for any help finding one you just can't find, because we have sources that make them all the time. You're also gonna check out the extra links at the bottom of the session handout if you want to find more things. There's a lot of links for things. Middle school people especially, Amber Stadell has made a lot of extra middle school activities, and so you can look there. Our middle school people, Desmos is working really hard on making activities that specifically go with our curriculum that we're using right now, and so a lot of times they'll be almost exactly the lesson that's in your book will just be on Desmos. So if you need help finding those, let me know. Okay. Thank you so much for coming.